Welcome back, students. We're continuing our work with Lewis and Clark, our graphic novel. So you will need a copy of that graphic novel. If you have misplaced it, there is a copy posted in today's Schoology for you. If you're following along in your textbook, I'm going to scroll down, check our page number. Looking at pages 586 through 587, these are the questions that follow the Lewis and Clark graphic novel. So we're going to go through these and make sure that we give our best answers. Again, I recommend these go on a separate sheet of paper. That just helps your teacher be able to see what it is that you're reading. You are not going to be able to fit your answer in the tiny little space that they leave you. So go ahead, grab a separate sheet of paper, make sure your name is on it, and you're going to number it as we go. Please put the page number. So at the top, put page 586, number 1, and then we'll work our way through. So first one, personal connections. Does this graphic novel, history, help you better understand some of the hardships the men of the Corps of Discovery endured? Explain. So this should be a good 3 to 5 sentences. You are explaining your answer. So 3 to 5 sentences answers this question. Comprehension. Number 2, reading check. In panels 1 through 7, we've looked at these in depth, guys. Panels 1 through 7, what are the men building? Question part B, what is the weather like during the winter of 1805 to 06? Again, we've talked about that the first day that we looked at the graphic novel. And then C, what did the men of the Corps of Discovery do to thank the Native Americans for their help? So you're looking at that first couple panels. Through panel 14, you're going to have your answer. So number 2, A, B, and C, your answers are going to come through from panels 1 through panels 14. Make sure you're looking in those sections. Make sure you put A, B, and C next to number 2 on your separate sheet of notebook paper. Question 3, strategy, make connections. Part A, what connections did you make between this graphic novel, history, and other texts about the Lewis and Clark expedition that you have read? That Sacagawea story. Tell me about those connections. What did you notice between the two? Tell me those similarities and those differences. If you want to answer this using a Venn diagram, you can do that. A Venn diagram totally counts as answering this question. You just need to give me quite a few examples in that diagram, or you can write it out in a paragraph, not a problem. Part B, did making these connections help you better understand the graphic novel excerpt? Explain. I need 3 to 5 sentences for part B. You are explaining your thoughts. Doing that in 1 sentence is not going to cut it. 3 to 5 sentences, please. Question 4, analysis and discussion. A, explain what happens in panels 1 through 8. So you should give me a couple sentences here. It's not a 1-2 sentence answer. You need more than that. Explain what's happening in panels 1 through 8. And then B, interpret. How do details in panel 8 help establish the historical setting? So this should be probably 2 to 3 sentences to answer this. Question 5, interpret. What do panels 21 through 32 show about the relations between people who belong to different cultural groups? Explain, citing details from both the dialogue and the illustrations. So you should be looking at the dialogue that are in those speech bubbles that the letterer wrote. And you should be using those illustrations to cite your evidence as well. Question 6, modify. How would you retell this graphic novel as a narrative? Remember, narratives are just stories. Choose 1 panel and retell it in story form using dialogue and description. Guys, this should be a small story. It should not be 2 to 3 sentences. It should be a small story. Pick 1 panel. That's all we're asking you to look at. Really focus in and write it using dialogue and description. Tell us what's happening with words instead of just with images. And then number 7, getting ready for close reading, which will happen on our next page and we'll probably get to tomorrow, but I'll go ahead and go over it in this video. Choose one or more panels from the graphic novel history that you find especially interesting or important. You'll discuss the panel or panels with your group during close read activities. So go ahead, pick one that you find interesting. Moving on to 587. Again, please note that on your answer document, on your answer paper, that the page is 587 and we're at number 1. Practice. Complete the following activities. Use text evidence to support your responses. So questions 1 and 2 are going to require text evidence. You're citing your answer. You're letting us know where you got the information from. So number 1, present and discuss. With your group, share the panels from the text that you find interesting. Discuss what you notice, the questions you have, and the conclusions you reach. For example, you might focus on the following sections. The whole excerpt. You can discuss the use of wordless panels. What do they show that words do not? Or you can look at panels 13 through 30, and you can talk about what the Native Americans may have felt about the party of explorers. I need you in your partner groups, or if you are a singleton, you're working by yourself, I need you to write this out for me. Write out what you're noticing, what questions you can have, and what conclusions you reach as you look in depth at that. So it's not just a conversation piece, but you are writing out your answers. If you're in a group, that's fine. The whole group can answer. And then reflect on your learning. What new ideas or insights did you uncover during your second reading of the text? So by now, you have read this text twice, at least. So what new ideas or insights did you uncover during the second reading? We are going to skip the inquiry and research. So this little part right here, we're skipping that. We're not doing the research part right now, but we are going to do the media vocabulary. These are words that we looked at the very beginning. So these words describe characteristics of multimodal text. Practice using them in your responses. Number 1, please label this media vocabulary. In panels 10 through 13, why do you think the artist chose to draw the men without adding words? Number 2, remember you're using the words, you're using your vocabulary words, penciler, inker, letterer. Number 2, what contrast do you see between the cover of the graphic novel history and the interior? What are you seeing between the two? And then 3, choose several panels and explain the contributions each type of artist made to their creation. So you're looking at what the penciler did, what the inker did, what the letterer did, and you're talking about how they contributed to that creation. All right, students, you will need to turn this in. This is due on Friday. So these 2 pages together are one assignment and they are due on Friday. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out to your teacher, Schoology message, email, something like that. We will be glad to help. All right, good luck. Have fun.